Newsflash, it's 99% getting punched in the mouth and then 1% you win. Yeah, those wins can be big, but the 99% of the time you're just dragging along, trying to make it happen, trying to make it work. And it sucks. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything here. Welcome to the Beyond the Build pod. Listen, we had a great time with the real estate take. We did a ton of episodes. I got to meet a ton of great people, but it was just missing something. It was too much just talking to people about what they're doing in real estate. It was too much just talking about really the highlights. I had some people come on there that were just trying to sell stuff, and I wasn't even enjoying it, honestly. You might have enjoyed it. It gave a lot of information. I learned a shit ton because I actually made that podcast to really just get to know people and just learn as much as I can and use it as just kind of a funnel for education for me, free education. And then I gave it out to the world too, so they could learn along with me. But yeah, I just decided to rebrand this to Beyond the Build. And this podcast is going to be, it's just straight real talk. It's what's behind the curtain of entrepreneurship. It's just, it's going to be a go with the flow type podcast. I'm just going to speak real shit. There might be a little bit of shitting on gurus because there are literally way too many of them. And they're just such bullshitters. I'm going to dive into the real life of an entrepreneur and what really goes on behind the curtains. And yeah, we'll just see where this takes me. I might have a guest on here and there, but really it's just going to be me talking, kind of word vomiting what I'm going through, real life shit that I'm dealing with, real life business stuff that I'm dealing with, and hopefully it's educational to people and people actually see what really goes on behind the scenes in business, because there's too much of just that highlight reel stuff that people only focus on the good and don't focus on the bad. We're just gonna dive into stuff, and get deep on it. But yeah, like I said, this is unfiltered. It's just me kind of spitballing, and this is how it's gonna be. And hopefully the flow gets better as we go. But yeah, I didn't even introduce myself really. For those of you that have been listening, you know who I am. But my name is Wendell Butler. I am a entrepreneur in mostly the real estate space right now. I got a holding company for real estate called Hammerhead Capital, which is a co-owner of Tied in Timbers Venture with my business partner Brian Wolf. We do fix and flips, new builds. We'll wholesale very rarely here and there. We do some creative financing and things like that to make deals happen. I do long-term investing kind of with my parent company, Hammerhead Capital, and myself personally as well in real estate, looking to build on that more. And then I have a hard money lending company as well called Flip Fuel Lending that I just created, and I'm slowly building that as well. My background is I come from, the way society kind of brings you up. I went to high school at Woodstock Academy in Woodstock, Connecticut. Went to college at Arcadia University, shout out Glenside. Went there for like a semester, played some college lacrosse and studied abroad there. But then I immediately found out I just did not like that college. So I transferred to University of Rhode Island. So go Rams. I joined the military while at URI, and I served as an infantryman and eventually commissioned in ROTC as a medical officer. I eventually was honorably discharged from the military because I got so luckily diagnosed with type 1 diabetes when I was 25. So thank you for that, whoever gave that to me, the higher power. No. But yeah. So military background, I got a lot of good amount of education. I tried to be a physician assistant. Went to school as undergrad for kinesiology, and I use that degree a whole lot nowadays. Not really. I just use it to work out myself. So thank you. At least I got free school from the military for that. But yeah, don't use that at all. And yeah, and then I applied to PA school, physician assistant school, got into a few. I realized that I just hated school. I hated listening to people. I hated learning about shit. The fact that I got through college and actually had a pretty good GPA is mind blowing to me because I would not study. I would not look at anything. I would just look at the PowerPoints that the teacher provided the day before and somehow get a good grade. So I'm lucky with that. But yeah, college was more just an experience of growth and meeting people and being social for me. And then somehow I got accepted in the PA school and I realized, hey, I don't like school. I've been bullshitting this the whole time. So I'm just going to take a break and see if I even want to do it. So I took a break. That's when I got into, entrepreneurship a little bit. I started selling. I moved to Miami. I call it my quarter life crisis with some friends that were down there. They were doing they were building a thing called CrossNet. Greg and Chris Mead, and yeah, they ended up doing pretty well with that. They grew it to I think a $40 million revenue and ended up selling it a year ago or so. They won't tell me what they exited for, but it is what it is. The but yeah, I hung out with them. I started learning about entrepreneurship and business and how you can make money not from just going like a 9 to 5. And I started experimenting, right? So as I was bartending, living paycheck to paycheck, I just started an e-commerce brand because that's what they were doing. And I started selling like these little weed pipes online, which back in the day, that was like 2018, and it was like impossible to market for that. So I learned a ton about marketing and the confusion with marketing and the fact that I couldn't even like every ad I put up, it just got taken down. But I grew that with like $140 in my pocket to 40K in revenue for the year, which was about what I was making like as a salary as a bartender and working my 9 to 5s before. So that's pretty cool. The net on that, which no one ever talks about, they always talk about revenue. Here's some real shit. Anybody that says, hey, I got $100 million in revenue, that's cool and everything, but like, what's your net, right? Because a lot of people build companies based on revenue. They don't make shit and they're building to sell and they're just struggling along the way, but they're making it seem like they're kicking ass. If you have a 1-to-1 ratio in marketing where you're putting in $100 and getting $100 back, that's absolute crap. So don't care about revenue much. Anytime someone mentions revenue, start asking about what's your margin, what's your ad spend, how many SKUs do you have, what's your plan? Are you trying to grow it and sell it? Are you trying to like increase your profitability and like expand the team and expand the locations and stuff? Those are questions you should ask. People just throw revenue all around and it's such a bullshit number. And that's some real talk for you. So there you go. Beyond the build, let's go. But basically, yeah, I made nothing from it. I put in $140. I made 40K. I spent 40K, but it taught me a lot. It was free education to learn about just how you can make money outside of a 9 to 5, right? After that, I moved back to New England, where I grew up mostly. You could probably hear my masshole accent. And I just started getting into sales. I realized sales is really important. I got to fine tune my sales. And by the way, at this point, I realized I did not want to go to school. I hated school. I hated the idea of school. So I said, I'm just going to figure it out and make it. So I got into ADP. I started selling payroll, which is like selling ice to an Eskimo. Everybody has payroll. They're the same exact product. I don't give a shit if you're Paychex. I don't give a shit if you're Gusto. I don't give a shit if you're ADP. They're all the same shit. And you're trying to sell that same thing to another business owner. And it just becomes a price war because you're like, I have this product that's blue and I have this product that's red. Buy my red one. And they're like, what's the difference? Nothing, but we could beat your price. And that's basically what I dealt with was door knocking, going to business owners who are way more smart and savvy than me and understood business way more than me and trying to sell to them. So I got a lot of no's. I built some thick skin, but I will say ADP had one of the best training experiences. So if you're looking to get into sales, I recommend, trying to get into ADP. It will suck, but you will learn a lot. So I got into ADP, realized that it sucked, and I learned as much as I could. And I started reading about real estate, started reading about different ways to make money, thought about being like a realtor, and then while this was all going on, it was like 2020 about. COVID was happening where all the home prices were exploding because the interest rates were so low. And from my networking, I met a amazing loan officer, Nicole, and she reached out to me and said that she would like me as an LO assistant just because she liked my vibe and stuff. And at first I was like, no, I'm going to stay with ADP. Um, but then as soon as small businesses started shutting down and I couldn't even sell payroll because they weren't making money, they were forced to shut down. So why would they try to buy payroll? I quit that pretty quick, and I took Nicole's offer, and it was like drinking from a fire hose because she was maybe, I don't know how many loans she was doing a month, had to be like 20 to 30 to, I don't know. It's ridiculous. I think she closed like 113 million by the, as the time that I worked there, which was like 2.5 years, about 3 years. And it was a ton of fun. And it taught me a lot about real estate and the financial background of real estate and the financial background of anything, period, like looking at businesses and stuff, which I think set me up for a lot of success in the future. Where, short story, try to make it quicker. I went from conventional lending, which is helping primary home buyers find their home, and I was helping people kind of house hack, which means, you buy a duplex, you rent out one side and live in the other as like a investment. And it's an easy way to get into real estate, like rental investments, without spending an arm and a leg. You can leverage conventional loans, FHA loans, and pay really low down payment and get these properties that could like break even, and it gets rid of your housing expense, which is huge. So I did a lot of that, but then I realized I didn't like talking to people about just rates, because you would work for someone for like 6 months and you'd help them find a house. They finally get a house on a contract, and you're lending for them, getting their file all set, and then all of a sudden another lender beats you by like 0.5% rate, and they just leave after you help them along so much. So I said, that's bullshit. I'm done with this. I don't want to build my business based on trying to, please and like kiss up to these home buyers and like just like beg them to stay with me. So I got into hard money lending as a loan officer, and that was a lot more logical for me because you weren't talking about people's emotions and primary home buyers' emotions. You were talking about numbers and investors and what they're looking at and the profit they're going to make and how fast you can move. So it was a lot better conversation for me. And while I was doing all this, by the way, I was like part-time investing and stuff, just trying to get my feet wet in that. And that's where Hammerhead Capital started. And I started investing in house hacks myself, live and flips myself. And then I did like a couple bigger projects myself too, which was cool, which you can get into later down the line in this podcast. But so then I got into hard money lending, and that was like drinking through a fire hose too, because I looked at maybe 20 to 30 deals a day of other investors and what they were doing. So I was learning a shit ton about what the other investors are doing. And from that, I just learned a lot. And then I got to the point that I had a couple of deals under my belt from doing it myself, that I built enough of a nest egg to sell one of them I was holding as a rental, and give myself a little cushion to then go into entrepreneurship full time. The goal was always that. I think I'm psychologically unemployable. Like even at the hard money lending company, they would want me to cold call. They would want me to cold call like 150 people a day, and I was just like, no, I'm going to build relationships the way that I want to, by networking and stuff. And I was closing loans and I was doing stuff, the right way, but they would always tell me, why aren't you calling more, when I was still producing? And that just pisses me off, because I would never make a business like that. If you're producing and you found a way to produce, why the hell would I force you to do something that you don't want to do when you're already producing? So yeah, I'm psychologically unemployable because I hate being told what to do. I hate having people breathing down my neck. So I'd rather die and work for myself than try to work for another person. Anyway, yeah, I left that job. So I sold a property, got a cushion, left that job, and dove headfirst into Tied in Timber Venture, which is my fix and flip and new build company and wholesaling company, with my partner Brian Wolf. Before that, we did a few deals together without starting a company, just to see if we liked each other. Business partnership is like a marriage. You have to figure out if you like the person first. One of the sayings I always say is, if you wouldn't hang out with this person day to day, you don't want to do business with them. And I see so many people get into partnerships just because they're good at leveraging each other's skills, but you never see them hang out together, and it never ends the right way because they just aren't compatible together. It's like a marriage, right? You have to like each other and be able to do stuff together, live life together and stuff. You can't just like only look at business because it's going to crumble. So me and Brian, hit it off. We did a few deals together. We just like the way that we think, had the same morals, values, and then we ended up creating that LLC together. And since then, it's been about a year and a half. We've done about 15 to 20 flips and new builds. Some were great, some were terrible, and I'll talk about those. And then this past year, I realized I needed to, like, I love lending. I love the finance background. That's like how I'm wired, and I'm really good at like doing that stuff. So I started flip fuel lending the end of last year, which I'm slowly building this year. I realized I was spreading myself too thin by trying to build both at once, tied in timber and flip fuel. So flip fuel is kind of there to just support tied in timbers for now as tied in timbers grows. And then once tied in timbers gets to a point that it is going to consistently net like a certain amount that we want, and kind of have the systems built that it's doesn't need me as much in it, and Brian doesn't have to be in it as much, then I'll put the pedal to the metal for flip fuel, because flip fuel is kind of my long-term idea of building that company to just multi like 500 million funded deals a year, or like who knows, even 1 billion funded deals a year, and just really scaling that company, because I feel like that is where my heart is and where I would like to scale the most and really grow. So yeah, that's a little bit about myself. I rambled too much already. I'm trying to keep these podcasts down to just 15, 20 minutes, sometimes a little less, sometimes a little more, but that's a little bit about me. That's a little bit about my background. You can always check me out at wendellbutler.com too. I got a website, pretty cool. My VA made it. She's a rock star, and you can see more about me there if you want to tag along there. And yeah, I'm looking forward to this and building this brand and building this podcast and hopefully growing a bit more. And the point of this podcast is kind of to filter out the fake people, the fake business owners that are just talking it. And I want to just talk and help out the real operators that actually give a shit, actually know what they're doing. And they're not just posting Lambos and Rolexes and, edited profit and loss or edited like revenue numbers on their Instagram story and trying to sell you a fucking course. Like, that shit is so whack to me, and I'm just about keeping it real. So welcome to Beyond the Build. Looking forward to talking to you all. And yeah, I'm going to post this weekly. Try to do weekly episodes, 15, 20 minutes of just what's going on in my life. Hopefully, maybe eventually people can ask me like what to talk about, and I can hit on it a little bit. And yeah, we'll just take it from there. And we'll see where it goes. But yeah, thank you for tuning in. And I don't know if you keep hearing that, it's my insulin pump. It just beeps at me, which is cool. But yeah, anyway, yeah, that's our first episode. Thank you for listening, and that's the intro. And it's gonna get better from here. It's unfiltered. So let's just keep rocking. Peace out.